ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಅದು ಒಂದ್ಸರಿ ಹಾಗೆ ಆಯ್ತು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮತ್ತೆ ಈಗ ಬಂದೆ ಲೈಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅದು ನಮಗೆ ಸರ್ವರ್ ಇರೋದಿಗೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಂತು ಹೌದು ಬಂತು ಅದು ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಬೇಕವಾ ಈಗ ಕ್ಲಿಯರಾ ಇರ್ಲಿ ಅದೀಗ ಹೌದಾ ಬಾಲ್ಕನಿದ
ಏನ ನೀರಾ
ನೀರು ಬೋತಲು ನೀರು ಖಾಲಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಇಲ್ಲ Bahasa mengkurang yang canggih mampor.
Iya. Nanti aku kalau tidak bisa. Saya jadi bukan. Aku dia.
Kan jadi tinggal di Cimare. Ya. ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ನೀವು ಅದೇ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ನೀವು ಉತ್ತಾರಿ
ಮಧ್ಯಾಹ್ನ ಮ್ಯಾಥ್ಸ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಸೊ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟರಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮಾತ್ರ ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ. 8:50 ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಉಟ್ಕೊಳ್ತಿದ್ದ ಬಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಈಗ ಬರ್ಬೋದು.
Followed by a car.
Yeah.
Like my
Yes.
presentation.
Yes.
See what else. Everyone. Okay, so it's.
Stick.
Maybe, this one.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
What you said.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll see you good tomorrow.
It was from the last night, right?
Yeah, 1940, yeah.
There's no.
Good morning. Happy to.
No.
All of them are from.
Yes.
What's the time? I think we have to actually reduce 5 minutes. First suggestion, sir. Sir, we are reducing 5 minutes.
Oh, no, I don't care. Now I don't care. Now it's out of my hands, yeah.
Yes, 5 minutes will reduce.
So,
Each session will, each talk will reduce 5 minutes. So that we'll get some time for the group photo session.
okay, but so how long will be the talk? 5 minutes?
It's 25 minutes.
Oh.
So 20
That,
plus 5.
that is about, you know. Let's skip 2 pages.
Yes, sir. So we'll keep it 25 minutes.
Okay.
And it's 30.
That's okay. Mine is anyway would have been. You got it?
Yeah,
Yes, can I take the
yeah.
USB back?
See, the problem I want to do, it can stay in 10 minutes. So the rest is some of the elaboration. Okay. See, it's simple.
Thank you.
Just, I want to say, now my current thing is not according to the theme of the but some more, some 10 years ago, that is very hard. In fact, what I learned from Abba. So, and the one problem is still left in that. Okay. So I want to present it. Some progress has been made, but still not what is completely possible. So some people, if they are interested, I mean, of course. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, they're in all. What? They're out.
Information on the sheet. So 9:15 to 9:40. 9:40. Yeah.
We'll do one thing. We'll keep one Zoom meeting going on in another laptop. Whenever that network goes, so immediately you have to connect to this laptop. Yes. That's it. And this one also. Speaker. Speaker and HDMI. You have got distance slides and distance slides. Yes, and this MK slides. In case it's given one photograph, like that has to be projected first. Sorry to camera carrots in it.
He's on Zoom, he's going to speak.
Yes, sir. Yes. Now,
He's announcing a major.
yes, sir. Keep it there.
Let's send. Yes.
Is this person, right? We don't want us to copy this one. So you have to direct the USB only. You give it the USB and then you have to project it from there. I'm saying just saying
Yes,
in case
okay,
just
in case I am here.
and this one we are winding up is 10:30 so that we'll have to do photo session during this time.
Yesterday we did not have.
We had we were only missing now. So we are taking
That is out.
so over there where
Why yesterday?
like NLH opposite to NLH was places where you will take the photograph over there. All that we have to do is this board has to be moved there.
Not this one.
Okay. Can you inform the security?
Okay.
Huh? Inform
10:30, no?
Yeah. And you put the chair accurate. Chair.
1 minute. I mean, name the corner.
15. 20 chair.
David and Vashankar. Try to manage the time before the tea break. Yeah, right. So that we get take the time during the tea break and have photo session. Fun.
I will check the software first. Then go opening on.
What is the time?
No, no, that's fine.
Starting time? What is the time now? Yeah, if everyone is there, then even by 9:10.
That's one.
If majority are, yeah. Another was, no? That was
Down.
yeah, start.
Can you click on the lounge? Down,
I
one,
don't see
down.
somebody else
Let's
from
go,
outside.
yeah. Go down,
Coming here.
down, down, down. Yeah, no, just. No, that's fine.
Yeah, Vasanth,
Okay,
there's one thing. So my talk is in this one, mobile, I can send it. You can download.
Hey, you know, you can take this number, maybe. Whatever.
Gmail.
You know that one can introduce and be ready. Right. It's not problem.
I love kissing the talk.
Yes, click that everything.
Yeah, welcome. So,
Not. Not copying. Anyway, let me try again. Can I do this?
Yeah.
Let me save some screenshot. When I make all this, you just directly connect it. Yeah, combine those and share that. Yes, okay. Yes. What is it? And then we will tell the sheet. What is the? Yes. Access coming. We can solve it.
Oh, that you have. Then you can ask your chat. Different time.
You're only reading, right? I will tell you about this one.
Yes, yes, yes. Good morning, everyone. We begin today by welcoming the chairperson of the session, Dr. Vasudeva. He is a professor and coordinator of MSc Biostatistics at the Department of Applied Statistics and Data Science, PSPH Manipal. His research spans categorical data analysis, longitudinal models, GLMMs, non-parametric methods, and count data modeling. We are honored to have his statistical expertise guiding today's session. Over to you.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm audible. Today we have three speakers. The first speaker is Dr. Juster.
Yeah, he's the assistant professor at University of 20 in Netherlands, and the second speaker is Dr. Agnieszka. Yeah, she is associate professor at University of Warsaw, Poland, and we have Dr. Murlikay Srinivasan. He's a professor of mathematics in at IIT Bombay. So all speakers will get 25 minutes time. Okay, so it's actually 20 plus 5 minutes for Q&A session is there. So without wasting any time, I'll introduce the first speaker, Dr. A.M.G. Houston. So to tell you that. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks. So, that's the title of my presentation. I work at NCU. I'm currently a guest at IIT Bombay. The word in red, Oracle. When we're doing theoretical cooperative game theory, or when we teach students, we usually take a certain numbers as given. Like the worth of the coalitions are usually taken as given. As it will turn out, and the one who gives them is the oracle. But now the oracle will have to do more than just we're going into how does the oracle provide the numbers, and that's not an easy task here. Okay, cooperation in transportation is a good idea. First of all, you can save costs, you can increase your profit, but also if people cooperate in transportation, there are positive externalities to society, like a reduction in congestion, a reduction in waste being emitted, a reduction in particles being emitted. Now, then of course, could I get one too? Fine. Bottle one. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Thank you. So people could look at game theory, cooperative game theory, about how do you divide the benefits for the benefits of cooperation. And theoretically and conceptually, a cooperative transportation game is nothing else but a cooperative game. And it's good to cooperate in those games because they're super additive. It's been proven in Schulte, probably a German, et al. And in practice, however, we don't find a lot of cooperation going on in transportation. That has certain reasons. The agents are competitors and they don't trust each other, and they are afraid that anybody will cheat them. And another thing is that before they cooperate, they want to know what they're going to get. And that's a difficult question. You could appoint an agent, like a consultancy firm or a government agency, to do the computations to give them the numbers that are asked by them. Yeah. They don't cooperate out of the blue. You need to convince them there is something to be had for you. Yeah. But then we run into problems. We have cooperative transportation game, we have a triple curse of dimensionality. Now something doesn't happen. Oh, now it's worse. First of all, many game theoretical solutions like Shapley value or nucleolus or even the core are hard to compute, right? Secondly, if the oracle doesn't have the numbers already present, it has to compute them. And the worth of one coalition is already NP hard. And the number of coalitions for which you have to compute the worth increases exponentially in the number of players. Yeah. So this is why we say this problem has a triple curse of dimensionality. Yeah. Now, suppose you want to, all orders come in for a day, and you have for a very large group, you have to compute a solution for the next day. So maybe 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours of computing. So it could be that the time limit is so strict that you cannot do all the computations necessary to compute the value that you want to use. That's the problem. Also, in many cases, it's actually unknown how long it will take until you do the calculations yourself. So we cannot guarantee that the computations for a standard solution concept are completed. So we have to come up with something that is a solution to that particular problem. I had two papers earlier on, one I presented in Delhi a year ago. Oh, sorry, I have another other slide. So these things are used a lot in cooperative transportation games. The Shapley value is very popular there because it reflects the power of agents. Proportional methods are also popular, but they're seen by practitioners in the field as unreliable because they are quick, dirty, but they do not give enough weight to the differences in power that certain agents might have. The nucleolus is also pretty popular, and you see all these methods have parts of the triple curse. So the Shapley value has a triple curse, this one has a double curse, and the nucleolus also has a triple curse. And you can see here that Raghavan has been very active in this field, aiming to reduce the complexity of the problems that are underlying but we do not see where, I must say, regretfully, Raghavan's work is any use here. So we had to know, so these easy to compute game theoretical solutions you could use as a way out of the triple curse. You have the egalitarian solution, you have a pile of money, there are 10 people, you divide everything by 10, right? You have the CIS value, you give each agent his standalone worth. If there is something remaining, you divide that equally among the participants. There's the Gately value and the proportional methods. All these are seen as not very, very good in the field. Another thing is that you could do you could approximate, for instance, the Shapley value stochastically, and there's a thing called the sampling Shapley value. There are some problems with that. One problem is that you lose certain properties of the Shapley value that are worth preserving, like symmetry. And another problem is that we envision that people are so distrustful that at some points in time they will demand a recalculation, maybe just to check, or maybe they're fundamentally mad or indignant that they get too little, and then they want a recalculation. If a method is stochastically based, then you might get another outcome. So this makes if it's very different, then people could lose confidence and trust in the method employed by. Although the guy who's doing the calculation is completely honest, it looks like he's dishonest because the method is stochastic. Yeah. I had two earlier contributions in the same with the same background problem, and for one, we were able to find an inductive Shapley value. Another one is an inductive tau value. And in the computation of both values, you could find things which are normally used for computations, but then you use them to do an approximation. But the problem, I'll skip this one. The problem with the problem with the nucleolus is there's no formula. There's a formula for three-player games, but we're envisioning using that for maybe 100 players. That's not very good. So in the earlier experiences, we used, as I said, elements used in the computation of the real value and use them to generate the approximation. So we had to look at something else. So we came up with the idea of using auxiliary games. What is an auxiliary game? Well, it's any game that helps you in doing what you're interested in. And in some cases, it has been observed that one value of a game can be expressed as another value of another game. And the latter one we call then the auxiliary game. You can do the trick a lot of times for values that are efficient, linear, and symmetric, but you can also do it outside of that class. For instance, this is the egalitarian value, and you can express the egalitarian value of any game as the Shapley value of another game, or even the nucleolus of another game. Yeah, and this is a unanimity game, and this is the unanimity game of the Grand Coalition. You can these are proportional methods with a certain W, and you can express them as the weighted Shapley values. This is the Shapley value, and when there's a W there, it's the weighted Shapley value of again the same auxiliary game as used here and used here. And this one is the alpha egalitarian Shapley value. And we could go on. Here we have the delta discounted Shapley value. And you define an auxiliary game V delta by this. This is another value from this consensus value. And it's, well, here you have another auxiliary game in which you can express it as a Shapley value. Now, for our purposes, it was necessary to have a definition of auxiliary games depending on the cardinality of the set. Am I still audible? So the auxiliary game given U, and U is between 0 and n is the cardinality of the Grand Coalition. Well, it's the auxiliary game is equal to the original game if S is n, so the Grand Coalition, or if S, the cardinality of S is smaller than U or equal to U. This is something as a repair. This is not necessary by any logical thing, except it's good for having a low number starting point. And this is the otherwise part. Yeah. This is the auxiliary game. And it depends on you. So these nucleoli all exist. There's a nucleolus for this game, there's a nucleolus for this game, and there's a nucleolus for any game in between. Provided that the set of imputations is not empty, but the CTG games are super additive, so the set of imputations is never empty. Then we're going to compute. And there are some lemmas in the paper that show that you can skip the first two steps and reduce the complexity of the algorithm a little bit. So we start, and by assumption, it's always possible to compute the value, the worth of the Grand Coalition. That's an assumption. Otherwise, you can't do anything. If the problem is so complex that you can't even compute that, then you should fire the oracle and get a new oracle. So if the only thing that you can do is well, the initialization is that we start by computing the value of the Grand Coalition, the worth of the Grand Coalition, and then we give everybody an equal part in the benefits of cooperation. Then we have to look, is there still time to compute? Yeah, if there is time to compute, we continue. And then we start to compute the worths of all coalitions consisting of cardinality 1. One player, and we compute the worth for n different players. If we succeed, then we enter a new, where is it? We enter a new approximation, and that would be the CIS value, the center of imputation set value. that has been, I've talked about that a couple of slides ago. You give everybody what he can get on his own. There is some money remaining, hopefully. We divide that equally among the agents. At that point in time, that's the best you can do. If anywhere the computations stop, you will report the previous found approximation. Yeah. If you can compute everything that you want and still have some time left, you proceed. Yeah. And that's happening here. And this is a loop. Yeah. So if you're very near to completion and you do that, you report the value found, and that would be the nucleolus itself. Yeah. If you can compute all otherwise, if you're in a smaller coalition, you have to compute all worths with that cardinality. Otherwise, you set the new solution. You give it one index higher, and then you go back to the iteration. And if somewhere the computations break down, you have to stop. And then you report again the solution found in the previous step of the iteration. Yeah. Okay. And then we define the inductive nucleolus as the thing that you get, you start to compute, and this thing reports something. It can report the nucleolus itself if the time constraint is not binding. If the time constraint is binding, it reports a value, and it's one of these nucleoli for one of the auxiliary games. So the solution depends on when you stop. Yeah, and this is a set of what I call pre-solutions, and they were on an earlier slide. So for every auxiliary game, you have the nucleolus. You might criticize that the value is not well defined. Well, bad news. The nucleolus is not well defined. It's product of a computation, and this one is also the product of a computation. Only it's slightly more involved. It has to take care of other business, and that's why it's even more intricate. This is a set of pre-solutions. Already mentioned that. Of which one is selected by the procedure. And then what is very popular in cooperative game theory is to come up with all kinds of smart axiomizations. Axiomizations are you take a nice set of properties and you show that the value satisfies those properties, but also the other way around, that a limited set of properties define that value uniquely. And this is pretty impossible for this thing, because if u is 0, so that you stop after you computed the value of the worth of the grand coalition, you stop because time's up, then the money is divided equally. And that's you get the egalitarian value. And it's a completely fundamentally different value than the CIS value. And that one, all these three are completely different from each other. There exist characterizations of them, but yeah, if I have a characterization for one, it violates the characterization of the other. So that's a bit of an impossible task. This is an example. I'll skip these. So then you try to find nice properties that this nucleolus approximation would satisfy. One of them is non-distortive. This is an additive game. So if the game is additive, means everybody. So you can earn 2, you can earn 3, I can earn 1. If we cooperate, we get together what we can do on our own. And we also, and you also, and we're together, we just don't make any more money. That's it. That's an additive game. And if you have a value that's non-distorted, everybody gets what he brings in by himself. Yeah. The Shapley value is non-distorted, the egalitarian value is, and for the other ones, trust me, it's a nice idea. Now we're going to focus a little bit on what the inductive nucleolus satisfies, and the green ones are properties shared with the nucleolus itself. Why is the nucleolus loved? Because it has nice properties. We want to keep as many properties of the nucleolus inside the inductive nucleolus. So the light blue ones are just properties that are fulfilled by both the nucleolus and the inductive nucleolus, provided that for the inductive nucleolus, the algorithm, the procedure does not stop immediately after the beginning. So if it proceeds, if it proceeds after u is 0, we're happy, because then all the blue properties are also satisfied by the inductive nucleolus. So the nucleolus satisfies efficiency, no money is left on the table, symmetry, people that are equal are treated equally, linearity, it does not satisfy linearity, and neither does the inductive nucleolus. Individual rationality means that everybody gets at least what he gets on his own. Yeah, so cooperation makes sense even after you redistribute the money. That's a technical requirement. Non-distortiveness, I introduced that a couple of slides ago. And standardness is a very general way of characterizing what everybody gets in two-person games. And these properties are shared under the condition that u is bigger than 0. These are always shared. So, yeah. And these are not shared in general.
So we 3 minutes.
3 minutes? I'll skip this then, because that's very technical. So this is, I'll only say about this, we had some axioms, we thought of some axioms which can be used in this framework. It's a first step to, well, the other papers were the first step, this is the third step. We had to come up with how do you treat what is a good kind of computation. And this is a mathematical formulation of what is a good kind of computation. I was going to switch this, and then an overview. I gave an overview. So these are properties: efficiency, symmetry, linearity, the null player property, covariance under strategic equivalence, and standardness. And you can see that the Shapley value has all yeses on the top line. This is the inductive Shapley value. Results are a little bit different. The tau value, and then we have the inductive tau value, and you see there's a difference. We have the nucleolus, and then we have the inductive nucleolus, and the numbers in the table refer to formal results in the paper itself, and I discussed globally those results. On the second page, we have this non-distortiveness that has been introduced specifically in this paper. These have been introduced in an earlier paper. And we can see that the Shapley value, again, is the best guy in town. It cannot be computed, though. That's a disadvantage. Under the time constraint, it might not be able to compute it. And it also holds for the tau value. And it also holds for the nucleolus. But these three babies can compute for any for any time constraint, provided the Grand Coalition, the Grand Coalition, the growth of the Grand Coalition can be made. So it's give or take. You either can give an answer or you give an answer, but it's not a perfect answer. Yeah. Conclusion, you can use it in the triple threat, the triple curse of the imaginality. There was a lot of fairness in the solution. The reason why we use auxiliary games is because there's frankly nothing else to do, at least in our point of view. And yeah, that's not something. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Quick questions? Any questions from the audience? No questions. I thank Dr. Justin for the session.
Thank you.
And I would like to hand over one small moment to.
I will request sir to present a memento as a token of our gratitude and appreciation to the speakers.
Now I request Dr. Agnieszka to come forward and deliver her. Now 20 plus 5 minutes.
Thank you very much for inviting me here. I would like to talk about my work with my former student Roger Nissi about how to avoid the tragedy of the commons in the perfect world. So, the motivation. Imagine fishing in a common fishery, fishery that is, as you can see, as it is usually in international problems. Okay, it is divided into exclusive economic zone. Fish is indispensable. You see that this jar is small, so it means that we can fish out everything, so fish can get extinct. And there are some inherent constraints, and you cannot fish more than available. With possibility to model many fishermen, and the model must be as simple as possible. And our focus, so you see that fish, even if the fishery is divided into exclusive economic zones, fish doesn't care at all about the border that there are only on the map. So fish can really change their location, but so if I just only restrict fishing in my own territory, it will not preserve the fish abundance. Okay, so we are going to focus on the tragedy of the commons and means to avoid it and to achieve sustainability. And the real world is not as perfect as mathematical models. In mathematical models, we can do many things, but not in reality. The model which I'm going to present is a continuous time fish wars type of games. So that's this name is due to Lefkari and Mirman, famous paper, and it has already been published. Okay, what is the story? There are N countries. Those N countries fish in a common marine fishery. This fishery is divided into exclusive economic zones. Each country can fish at most some part of the global state, because they will have only one state variable, which is the biomass of fish in the fishery. The dynamics, as I said, the model should be as simple as possible. So the dynamics will be linear. Our problem will be not that we can reach the abundance of fish. The problem is that we are close to the extinction. So close to the extinction, the dynamics is approximately linear. At least if it doesn't reach very, very low number, then it's not even linear anymore. Okay, so linear dynamics without fishing rate sign. Rate of growth sign. Each of the countries sells at the separate markets. As I said, fish is indispensable. So it means the country's well-being depends on having some fish. If there is no fish, then we are endangered by famine, by social unrest, by every bad thing, which is much worse than just monetary problems. So it is represented by logarithmic payoff functions, exactly as in this original Lefkarian Firman, and many papers continuing this approach. So linear dynamics, logarithmic payoff. Okay, SI will be our fishing, CI will be our fishing rate. It will be more convenient to see everything in fishing rates. Although originally we just state the model in fishing. Okay, if fishing is close to zero, it is starvation, economic crisis, and social unrest. So logarithmic payoff is perfect to describe such things. And we do it in infinite horizon. Of course, as always in infinite horizon, we have discounting, and as always in economic, or almost always in economic problems, we must discount because tomorrow's money or tomorrow's eating is much worse than eating or having this money today. Okay, so we have n players. Payoffs of those players are accumulated over the infinite horizon. My payoff from fishing, discounted, and I can, because I'm going to present approach which is uses feedback strategies, so state dependent strategies, not just how much to fish today, how much to fish tomorrow, but it is how much to fish depending on the biomass of fish, current biomass of fish. So my payoff, if at time t bar I start from x bar, okay, it should be minus t minus t bar here. Okay, because that's discounted from the beginning of the game. With linear dynamics and initial state, which is here stated in the payoff. So payoff depends on the initial condition. And as I said, I use so-called feedback or Markovian strategies, and I will look for so-called Markov perfect Nash equilibrium, so Nash equilibrium in feedback strategies. So state dependent. Okay. So what we are looking for initially, we start from social optimum, so maximizing sums of all the players, or payoffs of all the players, Nash equilibrium, so each of the player maximizes their own payoff given strategies of the remaining players, and partial cooperation. So a coalition K of small K countries maximizes their joint payoff, while each of the remaining players will maximizes their So the coalition maximizes joint payoff, but the remaining countries maximizes their own payoff each country only their own. And each of them, of course, does it given strategies of the remaining players, the coalition treated as one. And we ask question about sustainability. And we ask question whether partial coalition can be stable. And if yes, then for what size of coalition? And is there any mechanism that guarantees forming a stable coalition? Okay, so results. Due to a very simple model, we have very simple Nash equilibrium, that the fishing rate is equal to the not regeneration rate, but what happens? It is exactly equal to the discount rate. Okay, social optimum is divided by the number of countries. While partial cooperation, also very nice, divided by the size of cooperation, while at the partial cooperation equilibrium, coalition treated as one player jointly exploits R, while each of the other countries exploits R, but on their own. Okay, and another result, only coalitions of size 2 are stable. What I understand by stability, what I understand by coalition stability, a coalition is stable if nobody wants to quit it and nobody wants to join it. So nobody will increase payoff. No non-signatory will increase their payoff by joining the coalition, and non-signatory will increase their payoff by leaving the coalition. So, okay. But okay, those size 2 coalitions are stable, but there is no obvious mechanism to form such a coalition. So it is always better if some others, because what the coalition does, the coalition just results. Okay, we restrict our. That's a typical the tragedy of the commons games. So what the coalition does? Coalition restricts the fishing in order not to cause too much depletion of the fishery. So everybody benefits, and coalition on one hand loses because fish is less, but gains at least that by the fact that in the future there will be still something to fish. Okay, so there is no obvious mechanism how to get it, because it's always better if some other two-player coalition did it. So it's better if I'm the country that can propose that think, okay, I want to start a coalition because I see that fishery will going to be depleted too fast. So I want to form such a stable coalition. So if I form such a coalition, it's better to be in it than to leave it. But let's think how the process looks like. So one country should decide, okay, so I will just want to restrict my coalition. I need a partner to do it. And who will be the first one? If it's better not to be this first one. Okay, assume that such a country appeared, proposes to some other country, saying, okay, we will both form a coalition. Each of us will fish only half of normal size. So fish will not be depleted so fast. And we will have higher, of course, due to this, we will have higher payoffs. But this country says, no, possibly my neighbor will be better in this coalition. So they are stable, but there is no mechanism for them. If such a coalition exists, of course, it will, if it's formed, it can sustain, but it's not obvious mechanism of form. Okay, so what is the result? There are many countries, so this results in depletion and current payoff tending to minus infinity over time. In Nash equilibrium, and even in those partial coalition cooperations with coalition which is stable, because that's only 2 countries, so that's just decreasing. So forming a stable coalition is equivalent to decreasing the number of countries by 1. Yeah, so that's not a substantial change. Okay, so how we want, okay, and there is, usually the social optimum results in sustainability, or even the biomass of fish tends to, that's because we have linear dynamics of density infinity, but what is most important, it's not depleted at all. Okay, so we want to have it, and payoffs are much higher. In the case of non-depletion, we can do it in 2 ways. First, if those are players, being firms or fishermen in a country, then we can have some tax subsidy of tax system just enforcing not fishing too much. Of course, such system may have some constraint from real world. So for example, if we introduce something like this, we cannot do it like immediately, just out of the sudden. There must be some transition period and so on. This tax subsidy system should have some specific form, cannot be arbitrary, and that works only in the country, because no in the independent country will pay a tax to an international organization, which is only just to force countries to fish less. So this will not work, even if we form such an international organization. So that cannot be trusted that it will be that it can work. So if there are countries, there must be something called self-enforcing environmental agreement. So internal agreement, such for every country, it is better to stay in it than to leave it. So for example, those stable coalitions were a kind of such agreement, but we want to have something bigger. To be more specific, we want something consisting of all countries. So we want such rules in this agreement that makes it stable, in the sense that it doesn't want for any country to cheat. That was first idea when we were preparing this paper. But the second idea was after the referee's question, which was quite reasonable. Okay, first it didn't seem reasonable. Because it's always, it's not obvious that people can cooperatively cheat. If we have an agreement, something like cooperative cheating is something that is rather absent in real life. But if the referee asks, so we checked, because two players coalitions are stable. So possibly it may be better that two countries form a coalition and they cooperatively cheat. So we have to make agreements stable also against such a cooperative cheating. But if we did it for two, we did it for, of course, for arbitrary numbers. Okay, but moreover, countries cheat. If it's noticed immediately, then there is ideal world. But in reality, it takes time to detect and punish cheating. First, you must detect it. Then there must be some resolution, some many papers. Your government, your parliament should approve, and so on and so on. So it takes time. So I just for short say that it's delay in detection, but this is delay in all the process from the moment where a country cheated, or country or a set of countries cheated, to the moment when this is somehow detected and punished. Okay, so there is a delay in it. It's epsilon. So free riding during this